This is episode number 55 with Torsten Nicolini. Welcome to the Neuroscience Meets Social and Emotional Learning podcast. My name is Andrea Samadi. I'm a former educator who's been fascinated with understanding the science behind high-performance strategies in school, sports, and the workplace, and created this podcast to bring the most current neuroscience research along with high-performing experts who've risen to the top of their field with specific strategies or ideas that you can implement immediately, whether you're a teacher or student in the classroom or working in the corporate world to take your results to the next level. Thanks so much for tuning into the podcast today. If this is your first time here, I'm so grateful that you've taken the time to listen. I can't wait to introduce you to our guest today, Torsten Nicolini. He's a strategy coach who's joining us today all the way from Germany. He's devoted his life to helping small business owners fulfill their greatest potential by teaching them how to become more successful at work and life. Now, I first met Torsten last summer. It was 2019 when he contacted me to review his book. It was called Work Smarter in One Day, How to Be More Effective at Work and Get More Out of Your Life. And I get asked to review a lot of books. I must be on some Amazon review list somewhere because probably about a book a week. And I usually delete them, but the title of Torsten's book caught my attention because I had just launched this podcast on productivity skills and have been researching workplace productivity for the past year. So when I read Torsten's Work Smart in One Day, it actually felt like a compilation of the most effective productivity strategies all in one place. And a little bit of history, in the late 90s, I worked in the motivational speaking industry with some of the leading motivational speakers in the world. And of course, I had access to their books and content that I read extensively. And as I read through Torsten's book, the great speakers of the past echoed in my head, and I could see who had influenced him. And the strategies in his book were spot on. He's organized them in a way that anyone can improve their productivity. And I can tell that he operates this way with the detail of his examples. So I reviewed his book that day, and I remember exactly where I was. I was in a hotel on a family vacation, and I actually refused to leave the room until I finished his book and review because it was so captivating. Thank you so much for being here today, Torsten. Welcome.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your great introduction.
Wonderful. I just want to give a little bit more about your background, because there's a lot more than just the book that you've written here. Torsten is currently working full-time as an engineer at an automotive supplier, Yazaki, is that correct?
That's correct, yes.
And he's accomplished an apprenticeship as a toolmaker in 2009, technician in 2013, Bachelor of Engineering in 2018, and is currently doing Masters of Engineering that he'll finish in 2021. That's a lot of education behind you, Torsten. And he started to learn about personal development in 2017, but now he's 32, and brilliant and very smart of you to do that at a young age because it really has set you apart from the rest. And he launched a business in marketing and web design, starting a blog and different projects like web design and marketing. And since 2018, he writes content, articles, and publishing books. So you're very busy over there. What's life like for you right now in this strange time? Are you working from home with your job, or what's going on for you over there?
Yeah, what's going on? So basically, I'm in some kind of project management, and all we can do there is also now working from home. That's quite good. But you can imagine that we also, as an automotive supplier, have some facilities, some plants where actually we also need to shut down the production. Yes, in reference to all the OEMs who are closing also their plants and the production, which is really limited. And yes, it's a quite hard situation. And yes, I think we will go later maybe, step by step to some things, how we can overcome or get along with these times and to make the best out of it. So basically, I have a positive attitude, and I think that yes, in every situation you can maybe get something positive out of it. And let's face, I'm happy to be here and glad to talk about those topics today with you. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, that's why I think it's so powerful that you started
Yeah.
to study this at a young age, because now a lot of people are smack dab in the middle of whatever we've got going, and we have to have some of these strategies. If we've been practicing them for a while,
Mm-hmm.
like you have, they become automatic, but not everybody has had this opportunity to study, works like this. So
Yeah.
that's why I thought it was so powerful to have you on today and to share your ideas. So I just want to ask you some questions, because your book, every single chapter hits spot on with the most effective productivity strategies that I've ever learned. So can you just talk about what are highly efficient people doing better than the average person these days? And how are they managing their tasks to increase productivity from what you've
Yeah.
written in your book?
That is a great question. The short answer could be as simple as this, that you just say, okay, these people plan better and they execute better. But this information alone is actually not sufficient for those people who actually want to work smarter. So to maybe get a better understanding, we need to dig a bit deeper into this subject. And what you will then find out that it's not just about adding more working hours or more shifts and paying maybe more attention in classes or something. Studies as I see have shown that there is not basically a relation between more working hours and getting more done actually in your work. Just adding new working hours is not the solution for better productivity at all. So you can imagine that you are maybe working 50 hours per week, and you just increase it to a 70-hour work week. You can say, okay, maybe you see a noticeable change that, you actually have maybe more things done at that point in time, but relating to productivity, it's almost the case that it will get lower, that you will see a drop if you extend it to the amount of time, maybe of 70 or 80 working hours, because you have limited capacity as a human being, and so the same is for your work. So we need to really find out what is actually the issue about this. And what I see is that those people who are really efficient, that they overcome some challenges they faces, quite better or more often than the average person. And the key learning in general is that you first identify those challenges and your problems you have when it comes to your work. And as you can imagine, maybe from your personal working, there are sometimes items like you have a lot of stress, or maybe some tempting activities that could quite interfere with your current working and your productivities. And sometimes, if you imagine, there are also people out there who are a little bit disengaged from their working life at all, and do not really commit to certain activities or to certain tasks. And what I found out is that in this working smarter approach, you just need to find something out that you take smaller steps, just to being first aware about tackling those issues, and maybe to taking then small steps and convincing yourself then in accomplishing things. So maybe if you find one thing and just add it to your to-do list and accomplish it, and also to review what maybe was wrong or what was not okay, and that you reflect it in some time and work on your improvement personally. So this is basically the difference I see, that you need to get along somehow with the obstacles you get in your way when it comes to productivity, right? Yeah.
So when I read that, I thought, that's Brian Tracy. Eat that frog, do the difficult thing first. Is that where that influence came from?
Yeah, that was, of course, one influence. I really like Brian Tracy's work, and actually reading his book, and there's a lot you can take out. And this eat the frog mentality is really a good approach, I think. As you tackle your biggest tasks in the morning, maybe, or when it comes to starting your work, and then you have a good feeling, because this one important task is something that leads to your goals, which are the most important for you. And so you have a great feeling, first of all, working on it. And if you have accomplished the task, or maybe a particular task of this project, then it's really good. And the rest of the day, will get much easier, as I see. Yeah, right. That's correct.
Definitely. And I can tell that you practice what you're preaching from how you're talking about it, because
Thanks, yeah.
you know when someone's talking out of integrity for what they're doing, and it shows.
Yeah.
So that's why the book was so powerful, because I was blown away by knowing that you were implementing and where all these influencers came from. What about some new habits that go a long way, making you think about a morning routine? Maybe some people don't have one. Talk a little bit about that, some habits we could create.
Yeah, okay. When it comes to habits, I think you first need to understand that habits, basically all of us human beings have habits. And the question is, if those habits we actually have, are they working for us or against us? So that is a question you need to answer for yourself. And I think a well-established morning routine is a great tool to prepare yourself for a good start in the day. Yeah. So, but on another case is that you need to find something that actually is perfectly tailored to yourself. So where you feel comfortable with. It's not maybe about doing all the things that the people tell you out there. It's just to get a feeling about how is your body or how is your mind ticking, and maybe to actually use this and implement the things in your life. So maybe for me, it's waking up in the morning at a specific time and activating your body and your mind by doing some sports or taking a shower. Yeah. So the people out there always talking, okay, maybe you need to have a cold shower, but I say, okay, actually a shower itself would also work. It doesn't need to be cold. So it's really depending on your individual behavior and how you feel somehow comfortable. Yeah? Because I think if you're working on projects and doing some tasks, it's also important that you have this kind of comfort, that you have a good feeling, a good working environment, and the rest, I would say, will follow then. So when it comes to working smart, I would especially point out that it's not just about starting your work, but more to check and keep track of your to-dos actually, and to prioritize your work at best also one day before, because if you can make the to-do list one day before you get actually asleep, I think you can confirm is that your mind or your subconscious mind is working on it, and in the next morning it's much more easier for you to start, and you have not the force or the power necessary to take some decisions, because it's still clear for you how you will start, and then much more easy to get into it. So that is basically one approach or one thing I really like, and I always try to do to protocol it, to write things down, to make some to-do lists, to prioritize to my specific needs and in reference to my projects I have to do, and that is actually some tricks or some habits you can implement then. So if you are at a point where maybe in a project and already achieved some milestones, it's also good to have some kind of review and to motivate yourself that you see success, that you already did some steps, rather than just looking in front the long path to go, maybe that could quite demotivate in a specific way. So that is something that you can also consider or try to realize then in your work.
Wonderful. And when I read that question, of course, I thought of Covey's 7 Habits of Highly Effective People.
Yeah.
And I actually worked closely with Greg Link, who partnered with Stephen Covey, and got to know him on a personal level. He was instrumental in me starting Achieve It 360 and doing what I'm doing. And just thinking about the sharpening the saw habit, always learning and studying, learning from new people, but then implementing what you're learning. So not just reading it and putting the notes away, but actually trying to take action. So that's why I loved how you've done this here.
Yeah, just take one principle, and I think this book is really a masterpiece of work and really worth reading. It was definitely a pick worth it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And then you talked about how do you eliminate what's pulling you down or stealing your energy. And I know that you talked about, the habits that we have. We all know some things we're doing are bad habits. So how are we identifying them? And then what do we do with them?
Yeah, it's also a great question. So the main thing, as you said, is first of all, you need to identify what's pulling you down. And I can compare it maybe to just evaluating your financial situation. One approach could be that you are actually cutting your expenses. So almost any expert in this field of financial development or financial situation or financial improvement in this field will maybe advise you to write down all your expenses and keep track of them for the future, and review what you can maybe cut then, and where you can save actually expenses. And the same is actually for your working behavior. If you are doing something and actually working on it, then you just put maybe a list and write down if you feel some kind of distraction, and list it, monitor it during several sessions, and maybe at the end of the week or at the end of the day, you can just reflect, and maybe you will find some kind of overlapping, during more or less some of these sessions you will do actually during work, and then try to find something where you can work on, where we can maybe remove or reduce some kind of things that are pulling you down. And so this is one approach I really recommend in this context. And there are more or less several things that come in place here. So some actions to eliminate are maybe learn to say no to something that you might not interested in, or not too much socializing if you have an important project to be done, or important tasks. So that's something where you really need to find out. And what we mentioned before is also to have some kind of quality sleep, and some quality feeling, as well as exercise and dieting. So you can imagine if you have an important appointment, maybe a meeting or something, that you really need a sharpened mind or something, that you just go out for a walk in advance, and that really helps you to retain or to sharpen your focus. And finally, so these are the small things then that can make the difference. And to just have a look about your personal situation. Is there something maybe I can really remove, adjust, or is there anything else I can maybe adapt to my working behavior that works for other people?
So this one reminded me of Brendan Burchard's high performance habits. And he talks about some habits that high performers use. One of them is clarity, getting clear on what we're doing. And the other one is managing our energy. And so we've got to get really clear about what gives us energy and what takes our energy, and get rid of the things that take our energy, because it will really pull us down. And sometimes it's getting honest with ourselves. We don't want to do those things that, might feel great at the time, but they take our energy the next day. So have you read that book, Brendan Burchard's?
Actually not yet, so maybe that I will put it on my list and just go through it. But I think there are definitely points which I can take up, and also improve my working behavior on it. So I will not say that I'm perfect. I'm also learning, and it's a process. Everything is a process. So
absolutely. And then what are some tips for maintaining your success so that it continues all year? Because we can all start out great when we're starting something, but then life happens, and it happens here too. I've got to constantly be on track with what I'm doing, especially working from home. What kind of strategies do you suggest to keep you motivated all year?
Okay, when it comes to the word or to the term success, first of all, I would like to think about how do you actually define the word success? So what does it mean for you? Reaching a goal or achieving a task. So so the content of a success could be really different from person to person. So maybe to find this out, to actually define it for yourself, and then to really illustrate how you can make it measurable. So that you actually see that you have this kind of success. And what I always try to do is that I have some certain state in mind that I want to reach. Maybe in 1 year I want to win 100 more follower, or just increase my sales to a certain number, that I just put it down or write it down, and try to find out how I can break it down to actionable steps, and these actionable steps maybe makes it more tangible for you, to actually then plan your to-do lists and to maybe think about your timing, how you can realize it really in your life or in your work. So when it comes to those goals, really in combination with some deadlines, that you can put it to your calendar, that you can create a schedule that suits best to your tasks, to your individual needs. And as I always see, is that your brain or human brains prefer some kind of consistency. So it is also quite helpful to really align the right timing for you by when you want to work on it. So it really makes a difference, as I see. And also to maybe to talk to people who are quite good at what they do. So some kind of high performers. So sometimes if you are maybe with friends where you feel that they dragged you down or something, it's maybe time to reevaluate your priorities and really see which are people maybe where I can learn from, where I can get inspired from, and actually those people who challenge me on what I do and on what they do. So I have a better environment on how I can actually work on those things. And not by actually doing the things, but just by thinking about it, to approaching new things or new methods. That is really, really helpful. And at least you should not come to the situation that you slip back or slip to procrastination on your most important tasks. So that you really get some emotional connection to your task, to your project, and really get a good feeling that you are working on it. You really achieve your followers in 100 followers maybe in 1 year, and actually see how you can help them, or how are you chatting with them, and really imagine how this will be at that point in time, if you reach your goals. And if you just have this present during your work or before starting your work, just in your preparation time, it really makes a huge difference, as I see.
Definitely. I like that idea of having someone that challenges you, because it really helps you to expand your capacity of what you think you can do, right? Like, when I worked in the sales industry, they gave you your sales number, and every single person would look at the number and say, I'll never get this sales goal. And, it's too high. And then before you know it, it's halfway through the year and you've hit it. And thank goodness you had people to push you higher than you think. So I like having people like that around, so that you can just keep reaching for more, challenge yourself more, and do more and more things. I just wondered on that, how do you pace your year? Do you divide it into quarters and have goals that you set? Because a year can be a long period of time that you could get lost in your goals. How do you do that?
Yeah, that's right. So basically, I have a calendar which I buy year by year. So and where I just put my 10 goals from each area of my life. So it could be my business, could be financials, could be relations, and also some kind of charity maybe, to get really the whole picture about some areas of your life where you want to work on, where you want to improve, and to write 1 or 2 goals down, and to really to also prioritize them, and just to put your deadlines so on a monthly basis, but also, as you just said, quarterly basis is also fine. If you go from the whole picture to from the whole year, from the quarters to the months, to the weeks, to the days, it really gives you an idea about how you can actually realize it, as I said, in these actionable steps to improve it. And also then the question about how you can check in certain tasks in a period of time. So maybe if there is a new month, then you just align maybe to what you have already done or reached, and also to get an idea about what was important for you in May or in June, that you already remind yourself about where you are in your process, how you proceed actually, and maybe where you need to iterate or to adapt new things, and to finally always have those bigger goal or bigger picture in mind, where you actually then finally come out end of the year. But also you can take a period of 3 or 4 years and actually break it down. So for me, I have this plan which I do in 5 years, where I am with 35 years or 38 years or 40 years, and then I can actually see how I am now and in this project or in this plans, goals, and I can work on it, and always to remind yourself that you actually once write down those goals and see some kind of value for you, that it's always present. So that's basically how I do it. So
that's powerful to actually have the visioning side behind it, because sometimes we can't even imagine. When I first launched the podcast, I was thinking, well, if only I could get 100 people just to listen to it. That was where my mind was. Even back when I was reviewing your book, it was only 2 months. And I remember I was at 500 downloads, and I thought, this is great. 500 people, that's like way more than 100. And now we're approaching 11,000.
Wow,
and,
great.
It's definitely snowballing, but you can't see that when you're starting something. It's hard unless you have some sort of timeline of goals that you're looking at.
That's the compound effect which you actually realize if you look back. So after 1 year, after 2 years, and you really see, wow, how have I done this? So how is this possible? So the first steps are always, so you see maybe little progress, but if you realize it at the end of your journey or at the end of your goal where you reach it, actually, that's huge.
I like that, the compounding effect, because it started to go quickly with momentum. So the more that you put in, the more that you get out, which I think is also powerful. Well, I've thoroughly enjoyed your book, Torsten. Is there anything else you think is important that I've missed here that would help people to be more productive in these difficult times these days?
I think, as you said, we are now in a complex period, but I think that those challenges we now face are really challenges that define us in some way. And of course, I have some things I would like to mention. So maybe what's relevant for some people or for most people is that the issue that you maybe need to recreate or create your own workspace at home. And for the working in lockdown, it's essential from my point of view that you optimize it, or maybe make it some exclusive for you, that you just avoid places where you normally relax or something, and that you feel the concentration just in your working area, and maybe the comfortable situation somewhere else, maybe where you then enjoy your free time, that you really have to split. So that is one proposal I have there to improve in this regards. And of course then the maintaining of a positive attitude on focusing what actually motivates you. So that becomes clear to me in the past days and weeks, where I learned that mindset is actually really important in everything you do. So if you have a positive mental attitude, I think everything gets much easier. And what really helps me is in getting started and being productive is really having this clear vision and seeing in everything that is told, that happens around you, or what you experience, there's always a chance to grow or to improve yourself or to take something out of it. So if you give such words as productivity, efficiency, or success your individual meaning, and combine it with positive emotions and actually have fun in the process, I think you are really on the right path or on the right way. And surely it involves on some way that you need to leave your comfort zone, but I know why I'm actually working on tasks or things to improve. And really, if I combine it with positive emotions, it all gets much easier. And why should I torture myself all day long? Isn't fun maybe also part of the game? So that's a question maybe to ask yourselves and to find some answers.
Wonderful. Well, if anyone wants to contact you, Torsten, what's the best place? It's your website, lastingprinciples.com.
Right, yes.
And then your email, what would be?
Yes, and you can just drop me a message maybe. I prefer if you write me an email to Torsten@lastingprinciples.com. So I will we're really happy if you can just find something where we can work on, or we can just exchange some experiences, and really like to exchange with people like you who are already working so long also in this fields, and have some experience to exchange, to improve and to grow together. Yeah, so that's really great. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you so much for contacting me last summer and sharing your book, because it was incredible. And I hope other people will get that book and read it. It was quick and really helped me just to remember some of the things that I might have forgotten, especially during this time when, you know, everything is coming at us so quickly. It's hard unless we're practicing these concepts on a daily basis. Sometimes the whole day can get messed up, and it happens over here too. So having these steps in place are so important. So I want to thank you so much, Torsten, for being here today and spending your time sharing your ideas with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. Yeah, and wish you all the best.
You too.